Patrick Cook here. Thanks for returning. We are at session 140 of our Mandelbulb 3D Tutorial Series, in which we are talking about the Mandelbulb 3D application in terms of building an animation project. So in the last 5 sessions, we were talking about the Mandelbulb 3D source code, and I was showing you what the source code looked like and kind of getting a sense for what's under the covers. I certainly do not expect you to be a software developer and dig into that. The only thing I wanted to accomplish by showing you the Mandelbulb 3D source code was to help you have a little bit more appreciation for what went into the Mandelbulb 3D application in terms of software development. Personally, I think that the application was well thought out. I think that the individuals that worked on the software, I think that they generally did a very good job. I can recognize some skill when I review code. I also recognize some things that they could have done better. But I wasn't there at the time, and it's difficult, probably unwise to project what I think should have been done back then. The upshot of it is that I do respect the Mandelbulb 3D application in terms of its capabilities. I recognize that there are some very good visual effects and some very good math and some very good ability for the user to manipulate quality, certainly the graphics, lighting and coloring and animation. So I think that the Mandelbulb 3D software is actually pretty good, and I enjoy working with it. And like I've said a couple times in the series so far, the idea is that the more you know about your tools, the more value you will get from them. And the Mandelbulb 3D application is no different. The more you know it, the more you can do with it. Now, so what I'd like to do is get back to the project. And I think that the best way to do that is to review the rendered animation as we have it so far. All right, now let me go find. Okay, here we go. Now, okay, here we go. All right, now this is the animation as we have it so far. All right, now let's see, it was back in sessions, there we go, 31 through 33, 131 through 133. I was showing you how to set up network rendering using a shared folder in a Windows operating system environment. So what we have is we have rendered files so far. Now you remember we started at animation image number 1. We are currently at 3,610. So we had a total of 4,200 images, and so we're probably about 600 short of the full rendering of our keyframes up to this point. But what I've found is that I will often, and usually, I'll actually look at the animation even though it hasn't fully completed rendering, because I'm more interested in performing a review. I want to see whether or not my rendering with the full anti-aliasing and the resolution and all that kind of stuff is on track. I'll also go take a look at. I'll scan the images to see whether or not the other computer is still processing, or other 2 computers or 3 computers, 10 computers are still processing the images. All right. And as we can see here, all right, by looking at this 0 KB, it basically means that that computer has kind of laid down an empty file. I kind of like to think of it as that it's claimed that file name, in this case 3610, and is back on the PC within the Mandelbulb 3D application, is actually processing the rendering, and then we'll write it back to this. This is a shared folder. All right. So what you can do, what I do, and what you should do, is periodically take a look at your rendering and just open one of these images that are already written. You can't open an image with a 0 KB because the file it's not complete yet, it's not closed. Okay? But here we're just looking at one of the frames. This is frame 683, subframe. All right, and we're just looking at this in whatever. It's an image viewer built into Windows 10. All right. I was talking about this in other sessions where, you can take a still and you can analyze it and you can find all kinds of things wrong with it. I really don't like this area in here. It's kind of a heavy fog. I've lost brilliance. I've lost luminance. Okay, in here. The gamma, the contrast really isn't quite what I would like. The shadows aren't too bad. They're not too bad, but I've lost my my luminance here. Now look, you can take a still and you can analyze it 6 ways to Sunday. When you're working on an animation, a lot of these deficiencies will just kind of get buried. They'll get lost because you have an animation, you have a moving picture, and the animation doesn't stop long enough for the user to start inspecting every little detail. It all becomes part of the animation story. But what I'm interested in by opening up one of these images, I want to see whether or not it's on track. I'm looking for the quality work that we did. I'm looking for the lighting and the coloring. All right. It's too late to fix this unless I was to set up my photo editing software to fix 4,000 of these, but I'm not willing to do that. I mean, I could have my editing software, image or photo editing software, rip through all of these and batch sharpen or batch change the gamma. There's a lot of things I can do, but I'm in an animation, and I realize that in an animation I don't need to be really fussy with the quality. I can be if I wanted to, but I don't need to all the time. What I'm more interested in is clarity. All right, I want my details to look decent. Lighting, of course. The lighting here is not perfect. It's really a fog situation, not perfect, but the lighting on the object is not too bad. Our shadows down in here. All right, now this is a key aspect of an animation for me, is you can actually see some detail in the shadow area. That to me is very important. If this were all black, that wouldn't look good at all. And do I have good lighting? Yeah. All right, now here you can see kind of a shadow area here. I have 2 sources of lighting. Remember that now, right? I think, say I had one source this way and one source that way. All right. So anyway, let's end that one, and I'm going to just take way out here and randomly pick another subframe. Here we go. Okay. So that's another subframe that we're in our rotation right here. If you recall, that was really the best I could do on the fog. Okay, not bad, not bad. Here's some of that blue coloring. All right, the shadowing area is not too bad. The detail is good. The quality is good. Let's pick another one. Just don't try to open up the one that's 0 KB because it won't open. Here we go. So the detail is good. I like the detail. I don't see a whole lot of oversampling. That's where the DE stop was, we use that to adjust. I think that's actually pretty good overall for an animation. All right, so let's pick this up in the next session. We'll continue to review this. Now we are moving toward actually getting these subframes into a video editor where we can make a full animation. All right, we're moving in that direction. But what we need to do first and foremost is to check our work so that we don't put a lot of effort into a video a presentation if we're not happy with the animation. All right, we'll pick this up in the next session. I'll see you there.